Good evening, everyone, once again, for people who have joined us. Now, to set the ball rolling, I would say I'm assuming that all of you have applied to all the IIMs when you filled up the CAT form. Application deadlines for the IIMs have not been discussed very consciously in this particular session. Correct. So that's assumption number one, that you have already applied to the IIMs because it was a part of your CAT application. Now, when we start off your application, the objective we would want you to have as of now is to at least secure one GDPI call, right? It can be from an institute XYZ. It is going to change from person to person. But right now, our sole focus is to ensure that we maximize our chances of appearing for GDPI, right? As of now, we do not really want you to worry about if I get a particular college XYZ, should I accept the admit, right? That question is much later. Should I go to college X or college Y is also a question much later. That question will come to you in the month of April 2021, a good 6 months away from now, right? So as of now, when you're applying, I would want you to think of at least securing one call so that you appear for GDPI. Once you go for GDPI, you convert your interview. Whether to take it or not is a much later decision, to sum up, right? And obviously, how do you select the B schools? How do you shortlist the B schools? I would say very broadly, there are three factors. We are going to discuss each factor in a lot of detail in the coming slides. One, you should satisfy your expected outcome. When I say expected outcomes, I'm referring to the profile, I'm referring to the sector, I'm referring to the salary, right? That you would want at the end of your 2-year MBA, correct? It obviously should match the score expectation. In the sense, suppose a B school, for example, MDI, we know requires a high CAT score, right? Typically, the first call is given at a 93, 94 percentile, right? And let's assume you are extremely sure you will get that particular percentile, then obviously you should apply to MDI. But suppose you are far off from that particular number, then it may not make sense for you to invest 2,000, 2,500 rupees and apply to an MDI. So there has to be a score match also along with an expectation match. And the third would be other factors, which would be the brand, the location, and so many other factors, right? So as a thumb rule, what we would advise you is let's apply to 8 to 12 colleges, correct? In addition to the IIMs, because the IIMs have already been applied to, and we can have them across 3 categories. One is your dream school. So maybe if they're slightly above your current performance in terms of your test score, this is the B school you always wanted to go. Second is, I would say, realistic and short, which would mean that more or less you should, get into this B school. So some of these B schools are right there in your percentile zone. Some of them also may act as a buffer. You go one slab lower so that you at least get one GDPI call. So few B schools above your current percentile range, a few in the range, and a few, 1 or 2 just maybe as a buffer. So that's the breakup you would like you to have in mind. Why are we telling you to apply to 8 to 12 B schools? Because B school applications are a little expensive, on an average 2,000 rupees per B school application. So if you apply to all B schools, I'm sure the B schools will love you, but your pockets will be lighter by a few lakhs. So we really don't want you to go into that particular direction, right? So our expected optimization, so what are we expecting at the end of this particular session, and as an end objective for you is, given your expected percentile range, you should not miss out on the best institutes. So it should not happen, oh, I got a 97 percentile, but I did not know that MDI was accepting applications. I missed my deadline, so I did not apply to MDI. That's really an hard burn post the incident that happens. And second, we want to avoid unnecessary applications. So we would want you to restrict yourself to about 8 to 12 B schools, like I just mentioned. Correct. Vinayak, you want to add anything here?
Yeah, so basically the only thing I would like to tell students is that let's understand there are 4,000 colleges, around 200 seats on an average per college. So 8 lakh seats on the platter, right? and only 6 lakh, around 6 lakh MBA aspirants going after these tests. So don't worry. I think you just have to go and stand in the race. You're assured of a call from some college, right? But that does not mean you can apply to 4,000 colleges, right? You need to figure out for yourself which are those colleges that you're going to apply to, which are those colleges that are going to deliver on your expected outcomes, which are those colleges that you're likely to get a call for interview based on your ability to score in a test, right? And which are the colleges that meet the various constraints that you might have in terms of location, in terms of fees, in terms of ability to get loans or scholarships, etc., etc. So generally, people don't give much of a thought to this at the earlier stage. So the approach of a lot of students that I've seen over the years is that let me first take the test, let me get a test score, then based on the test score, let me apply to a college. Now, what is the problem with this type of approach? The problem is that a lot of times you might actually miss out on colleges that you might have actually got an admit to, but you didn't even apply. I've seen students who get a 97, 98 percentile and have not even applied to MDI, and later on they regret not having applied to MDI. So having a robust application strategy is very important, and which is why we are doing this session today. And my advice to all of you would be, uh, at the end of maybe a few days from now, you should have this list of 8 to 12 B schools other than the IIMs that you should be applying to. Ready in terms of your thought process as to why you want to apply to these colleges, whether they match the 3 parameters that we have mentioned over here. Yeah. So Hemang, let's move ahead, and I think as we discuss, we'll be able to throw light on each of these parameters.
Correct. So see, typically, how do we evaluate a B school? When I say evaluate in terms of at IMS, we have a system where we have put the top 90 to 100 B schools of India into 4 broad categories. Correct. And this is how we should also look at a B school. So when you're asking yourself, should I put this into my application list, as Vinayak sir just mentioned, these are some of the factors that we would like you to keep in mind. One is obviously placement outcomes, correct? So there is no doubt that people would look at 2 things. What is the expected salaries at the end of the year? And obviously also the profiles. When I say profiles, what kind of a job are you looking at? For example, if you are looking at a core finance role, correct? It makes a lot of sense to stick to, let's say, the top B schools. When I say top B schools, maybe the top 30, 40 of the country, right? Because the lower down you go, you do not get core finance roles. It will become more into accounting roles or financial sales, correct? Suppose you're looking at hardcore management consulting, for you, that is the dream that you have lived. Then it makes sense for you to maybe restrict yourself only to the top 10 of the country, because management consulting roles do not go beyond the top 10, 15 colleges of the country, right? So you have to evaluate the role that you're looking at, and you also have to evaluate the salaries, correct? A lot of people just look at the average salary numbers, and that's the start and the end of their research. I would say that's really not a good practice, because a lot of things go into making the average salary, right? So I would suggest that you spend at least 5 to 10 minutes on the placement report. Look at the quality of companies coming to the campus, right? So do you have the top names there? Look at the roles that are offered, and then you can substantiate it with the salaries that are being offered here. Correct. Vinayak sir, you want to comment on this part?
See, placements are generally what people go for. If I were to ask the audience out here, why is it that you're doing an MBA, right? If you could just type in the chat box, what is your single most reason for doing an MBA, right? Yeah, I think the first 3 entries are money, right? So money, salary, earn money, 50 lakhs per annum, job, great salary. Someone says learning management. I don't know what that is. Better placement opportunities. Almost all 30% claim 100% placement. Career switch. Better life. I don't know how you get a better life by doing an MBA, but quality life, paisa. higher position industry, white collar job, salary, marriage. Yeah, that's an outcome. Yeah, sure. Respect, advancement in career, want to live IIM life. So to live an IIM life, someone is actually willing to spend 25 lakhs. Right? Changing field, simply money, mistake in graduation. I, I can't stop myself, but I'm sure whoever has talked about mistake in graduation must be an engineer. The problem is that while we ask why MBA, most of the engineers still don't know why they did engineering. It all starts from our childhood days when we sit with that toy and we start repairing it, and our father says, "Oh, this fellow will become an engineer one day," and we actually take him seriously. And that's how all of us end up doing engineering. And then within 1 or 2 years in engineering, we realize that that's not what we want to do. So what's the next best thing? MBA. So uh, so yes, all of you want to do an MBA for money. I think that's the single most reason why people want to do an MBA. You want good money. So if I were to ask you, what is your expected salary, right? What is your first expected salary out of college, right? Could you put it over here? 15
Yeah, yeah. Annual salary. Yeah. Put annual salary.
annual salary. Yeah. Someone saying minimum 12 lakhs. May I ask with tax or without tax? Someone is saying 55 lakhs. I don't know why. 20 lakhs. 1 crore. 25 lakhs. Minimum 8 lakhs. See, my point is this. You can put any number because I am not giving you a job anyways, right? So they'll khol ke dalo. Right? 12 lakhs without tax. Okay. So someone is just typing out zeros out there. Okay, stop. I've seen a 1 crore and I'm happy enough, right? There's someone who's saying maybe he wants to give out salaries rather than take one. So fair enough. Jeff Bezos. Okay, good. My next question to you is if you want that salary, not a problem, right? But why should someone give you that salary, right? So will you just get a salary because you have done an MBA? Will you just get a salary because you have done an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad? Right? What all of us need to understand is that the salary that you get will be for a role that you perform in a certain company, in a certain industry, right? So salaries are simply not given because you are an MBA. If you were to give out a salary of 1 crore to someone, let's assume that 1 crore is a realistic salary after MBA. What is it that you would expect from that person? Wouldn't you expect him to generate at least 1,000 crores worth of business for your company? My question to you is, do you really think you can reach that value within 2 years? An MBA can only multiply your value. Matlab, it's a multiplier. An MBA can multiply your value by maybe 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, depending on the quality of college that you join. But a multiplier ka final outcome is dependent on what is your initial value. So please take into account your current profile before setting out to achieve a particular expected salary, right? What is your expected salary today? If it's 3 lakhs, then if you want to at least make your salary 3 times of what it is after an MBA, then a 9 lakh to 10 lakh should be a realistic assumption post an MBA. That should be your aim. Kam se kam isse kam nahi hona chahiye. If you are already at an 8 lakhs, right? Nothing less than 15 lakhs, 16 lakhs, 17 lakhs should be something that you should be expecting after an MBA, right? And if you are already at a 15 lakhs, then really think about it. You must be expecting at least a 20-25 lakhs or a 30 lakhs salary post an MBA. But what is the value that you bring to the table? Plus, will decide which are the colleges that are right for you. So just don't go after numbers. Some college might say that they have a 15 lakh average salary, or someone might say that they have a 25 lakh average salary. What are those roles? What are those responsibilities which yield those salaries? Which are the type of profiles that are absorbed for such salaries? Do you have one? It's nice to say that I want to get into consulting. I want to work for a McKinsey or I want to work for a BCG. But do you really have that particular profile? Not to say that you can never get there, but based on your current profile, is it realistically possible to get there in 2 years? If not, get realistic and decide your set of colleges accordingly. Yes, your test scores are going to play a big part in deciding which colleges, but also take into account your current profile. Your profile is not going to change much from now to the next couple of months when you start attending interviews, right? So yes, placement outcomes are important. We need to look at that, but just don't look at the number. Look at the quality of placements. Look at the type of companies coming in there. Look at the roles that they are offering in each of these colleges. And if that appeals to you, if that matches with your profile, I think that college is good for you, right? So just to give you an example, an ICICI bank might pick a student from an IIM Ahmedabad, and it might pick a student from an SIS college. Does that mean both the B schools are equally good? Not necessarily, because we need to find out what are the roles for which ICICI Bank is picking students for, and you might not be surprised to find that they are very different roles. Yeah. So I think placement outcomes are important, but look at it with the right from the right lens. Yeah, Hemant.
Great. See, we have obviously accepted the fact, and we know that placement is the most important outcome. Hence, we put it first. So there is no harm in admitting that it is being done for placements. Correct. Obviously, the other factors will go hand in hand with the placement outcomes, which obviously would mean the brand and the legacy. Right. So, for example, IIMs do the tag of IIMs has a particular weightage, at least maybe for the first 5 to 7 years of a career, right? Very established brands like FMS, XLRI. If I look at the next rung of colleges, SIBM, NMIMS, they do have their own legacy in the market. So it generally helps get those great profiles and hence improve your placement. So the brand obviously plays a role. Correct. The other factors obviously would mean your expected percentile range, like we have discussed. So there should not be a great mismatch between your expected percentile and the percentile that the B school is looking at. How do we judge your expected percentile is going to come up next. Before you ask that question, we'll give you a thumb rule for the same. Correct. And the other thing, so these three are clearly the top three factors. There's no doubt about it. Other factors would be your B school experience. So people spoke about peer learning. People spoke about wanting to live the IIM life, and obviously the infrastructure, right?
Residential, non-residential.
Yeah, residential versus non-residential would come into picture. The entire experience changes when it is a residential MBA because you are immersed into it 24/7 for 2 years, which is very different from a non-residential MBA. Correct. Location becomes a factor. My opinion would be that for the top 30-40 colleges, location is not as important. If you have to go to Jamshedpur, you go to Jamshedpur. There is no doubt about it. But beyond the top 30-40, yes, location becomes an important parameter, right? So suppose you're looking at a college ranked 100 in Mumbai versus a very small town in, let's say, Haryana, I would prefer Mumbai. Two very specific reasons for the same. One, ease of getting internships and corporate exposure while your MBA is on. Second, ease of getting visiting faculty, right? A classic example is JBIMS here, in Mumbai. So JBIMS is known for its finance placements. It is right there in the finance hub of Mumbai, right? So a lot of time what happens is you have a vice president of a bank who would go to his office in Nariman Point, finish his office at 7 p.m., rush to JBIMS at 7:15. He is there at JBIMS to deliver a lecture. So what he learns what he applies during the day, he teaches at 7:15 in the evening, right? this is possible because his B school where he teaches is 10 minutes away from his office. But suppose now you are in a town where you need to take 2 flights to reach there. I don't think many people would want to take up, a lecture there. So beyond the top 40, I would say be a little more focused on the location also. But the metros, the tier 2 cities will give you a lot more scope as compared to some of these smaller towns. This can also be a constraint for somebody that I do not want to go beyond a particular city. I do not want to go to a particular region. But so both from the angle of your B school experience and your personal obstacles, I would say location should come there. Please remember, I have not put location as the most important factor. It is coming as my fifth factor. And obviously one more factor is fees. Again, beyond the top 30, 40 B schools, fees might start becoming a little more important. But suppose it's an IIM ABC, I don't think the fee should really be a factor because it will pay back itself in a couple of years, I would say. Correct. So these would be the factors. We account for all of these. I'm sure most people who comment on rankings and B school preferences look at these in their mind, and I would want you to also look at these factors while you make up your list, etc. Vinayak sir, any comments here?
Yeah, so basically, when you're comparing B schools, right, all these factors play an important part. We are simply talking from a perspective of evaluating B schools. We are not talking about the student as such, right? So while you are evaluating a B school, do take all of this into account. There are questions like what's the difference between an MBA and a MMS, or an MBA and a PGDM, or an MBA and a PGP? Does that make a difference, right? I think finally it's the college that matters, right? So if you're looking at the top IIMs, if you're looking at most of the top 30 schools, the name of the program actually does not matter. Whether it's a PGP, whether it's a PGDM, or whether it's an MBA, it actually does not matter. That's basically nomenclature, right? There is industry recognition to each of these courses, and you just have to go by the name, the brand, and the legacy. We have talked about it. I think we can't actually overstate the importance of having a brand. Please look at this. B school education might be the last education you have in your life. You can have some more after that, but generally it's the last education you are going to have. This is your last chance to add a tag to yourself, right? You will be known by the tag by the B school that you do your get your admit to, right? That you do your management education from. So let it be a college that is as good as possible, right? Please don't compromise over there. So you need to find out how good a brand is, how well known is it in the industry, what is the reputation of that brand in the industry, because that will help you get those opportunities that you're seeking post an MBA, right? So it's not just about doing an MBA. I'll again go back to the fact there are 4,000 colleges. It's not difficult to do an MBA. What is difficult is doing it from a right B school, right? The tag is going to play a very important factor in the long run, right? So brand and legacy is very important. You need to see how reputed a college is in the industry, right? So Hemang, we can move ahead.
Okay. Now, these are certain questions that we would want you to answer. So if we were meeting one-to-one, let's say you are meeting Vinayak sir or you were meeting me, typically our advice to you would revolve around your answers to these 5 questions. So either you can jot down these questions, or if you have the answers ready, you can have a list of those answers also ready. The first question is, does your current profile or stroke current job make certain B schools unattractive? So this is in fact a very positive way to look at it. To give an example, suppose you are from an IIT, you already placed in MNC, and your current salary is, let's say, in the range of 12 to 14 lakhs per annum, and you are in a very reputed company, a branded company, to say. So you have the IIT tag, you have an MNC tag, and you have a good salary. Maybe the profile is something that you would want to change. So as soon as you say IIT plus 14 lakhs plus MNC, I would say a lot of B schools go out of your list. To put it in a one sentence, I would say maybe only the top 20 colleges should interest you. Maybe even only the top 10, 15. But we do not want you to step down, right? So like Vinayak sir mentioned, the MBA is supposed to be a multiplier and hopefully greater than 1, right? So we do not want you to say, okay, I went to an MBA and then my multiplier was 0.8, right? So just ensure that the B school that you are hoping to get into plays a good enough multiplier, right? So talking of multipliers, Vinayak, a lot of students were asking, sir, we are freshers, how do we know our current value?
Yeah.
And some person use the concept of I'm a Lukha as of now. So how do I know my current value?
I think it's not, it's you're a Lukha because you have not measured your current value so far. So my simple thing is this: to measure your value, if you were to go for a job, right? Whether you have a job, you have one or not. What is your expected income from the first job that you get based on your current profile? That is your value, and I'm sure none of you are at a zero, right? You might expect a 3 lakh salary job per annum, right? You might expect a 2 lakh salary per annum, but I don't think there's anyone over here who's at a zero, right? So based on your current profile, you might be a BCom graduate, you might be a BBA graduate, you might be an engineer, right? You might be a doctor. What is it that is your potential earning, even if you're in your final year right now, right? What is it that you expect to earn immediately after graduation? Some of you might actually sit through placements. What are those salaries that you might get at the current point in time? That becomes your current value, right? So if your current value is 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs, 3 lakhs, and this might vary from profile to profile, from qualification to qualification, college to college, right? So it's not necessary that all engineers are at a 9 lakhs or a 10 lakhs. It also depends on which college you are from. What are those employment opportunities you get at your college or after college? What is it that your seniors got last year, right? So you might look at it from a optimistic way, you might look at it from a pessimistic way, but you'll still have some value, right? Find what that value is. You don't need to necessarily have a job. You don't need to necessarily have a job to measure your value. You need to figure out what is that job you are most probable to get at this point in time. Yeah. So I hope that answers the question for freshers and all the Lukhas out here. Yeah.
Okay. The second question is the other side of the equation. Does your current profile make certain B schools difficult to get into? Correct. I'm not using the word impossible. Never say never is my philosophy. So I'm saying maybe some things in your past, maybe a very poor acad score. Right now, let's not get into a debate of evaluating each profile. But suppose you do not meet the eligibility criteria of a particular B school, then it makes sense to not really apply to that B school as of now. Or maybe if you are still very enthusiastic to try, maybe it can be in one of your colleges in the dream list, right? So it is very necessary that you know, okay, these B schools do not make sense to me because of question number 1 that I have asked you. And maybe these schools, maybe I aspire for it, but maybe it is slightly out of my league as of now. So you have to be cognizant of the fact that yes, I may apply to them, but they are currently out of league. Correct. So you need to have that equation pretty much clear, right? Third question is what we have already discussed. Are there any other constraints, location, fees that you wish to consider? When I say other factors, one question could be about your current preparation, right? So you feel you started too late, maybe certain health factors due to the current pandemic, you could not focus on your preparation this year. And maybe you'll obviously take up CAT this year, but maybe you think I might want to take one more attempt because I did not do justice to my ability. So, you know, I do not want to compromise on a B school this year. I might want to take it up next year. It's a fair stand to take, you know. So location, fees, how much have you optimized your current preparation is also a question that you would want to ask. The fourth question would be, are you interested in certain sectorial or very niche MBA programs? So basically, for example, if you're looking at HR, then there is a certain list of colleges that you need to definitely apply to. If you're looking at business analytics, you know, which is an hot sector as of now. So your list of B schools will expand to include those specific B schools for sure, you know. So this question has to be answered. It is also very likely that you say, sir, I have not really thought about a specialization as of now. So yes, you go to the general MBA programs. but people who have a specific profile or a specific interest in a particular sector, they need to add those B schools to their list. Again, we'll come to that list for sure. And the last question would be, do you have the luxury of one or more CAT attempts? Sometimes people say, no, sir, this is my only attempt, or this is my last attempt. I've already taken multiple attempts. Sometimes people will say, sir, I'm just in my final year of graduation. I can take one more attempt next year. I have a job waiting, so on and so forth, right? So that really will determine your list of B schools you want to apply. I would say people who have a luxury of one more attempt can be a little more selective in their applications. People who have to do their MBA this year for whatever reasons, okay, the reasons can be very personal. Their list will be a little more, it will be a little longer to ensure that they get that one call that we spoke about right at the start, right? So we would wish to all of you to answer these questions honestly. You have to be honest to yourself more than anything else. Once these questions are answered, then making up the list becomes a lot more easier, I would say. Vinayak sir, any comments here?
Yeah, so basically talking about points 2, 3, 4, and 5, I think finally what matters is whether you're getting to the college you deserve or not, right? So other things should not weigh very heavily on your mind right now. As far as your current profile making certain B schools difficult for you, I would say that over the next couple of months, please focus on things that are there in your hand, which is working on your test scores, right? The balance of your profile and your test scores is going to decide which colleges you are ultimately going to get into, right? Whatever is your current profile is going to stay that way at least over the next couple of months. I don't see much of a change happening there. So please focus on the test. Try to get as high a score as possible, right? Push yourself as high as possible with respect to the score, so that the combination of whatever profile you have along with the test score that you gets you the best possible opportunities as far as the B schools are concerned. Don't worry too much about whether with a 55% will I get into an IIM Ahmedabad, or with a 40% will I get into something else, right? I don't think that's what you should be thinking about. Your past is something that you can't change. It's not in your control. You rather try to control the test scores over the next couple of months and get into as good a college as possible. As far as location, fees, etc. are concerned, I would say that all that matters once you have got an admission, right? Your sole ambition should be to get into one of the top 30 colleges or one of the top 50 colleges, depending on your profile. And once you get those admissions, you can choose B schools based on your constraints. So if you happen to get a college in the city that you live in, great. But if it does not fall within that ambit of top 30 colleges, then it doesn't make sense to join the best college in your locality, right? Because it might not mean anything after all, right? As far as sectoral niche MBA programs are concerned, if you have a specific interest in advertising and communication, for example, MICA is something that you should apply to, right? If you are interested in HR, TIS and XLRI are colleges that you must apply to. So you need to know for yourself whether you have such niche interest, and then therefore the colleges that you select will also get influenced by the same, right? And as far as one or more CAT attempts go, let me tell you, the career after MBA is at least going to be around 40 years long, right? So please be very careful. Don't be in a hurry. Do not get into a compromise mode. Don't have false barriers in your mind saying I'm not going to take the CAT once or twice or thrice. There is no such number. I know people who have made it to their dream B schools in one attempt. I know people who have made it to their dream B schools in 2 or 3 attempts. Yes, you might have some personal issues. I don't want to get there, but as far as possible, let these constraints not determine your choice of B school. Yeah, I know. Hemang?
Yeah. Like Vinayak sir just mentioned, see, the end objective of asking yourself these 5 questions is we want to know what is your cutoff. When I say cutoff, your lower cutoff of the B schools that you are going to apply to. Is it right now? We are not focused on specific names, correct? So are you looking at the top 10, the top 30, the top 50, the top 100, the top 200? Correct. Again, it will depend upon person to person, right? But at this point of time, this is the outcome that we want you to have. See, when we ask students, what B school do you want to go to? Obviously, a lot of people will start with the IIM. Sir, I want to go to IIM A, B, C, etc., etc. Right? Absolutely, there IIM A has to be your top choice for all the 2.3 lakh students who are going to take up CAT, right? But the question is, what is the lower cutoff you would want to stick to, right? So suppose I take a name, college rank number 76. Does it fit into your list? College rank 234. Does it fit into your list? Is my point, right? So there is no cap. All of us will be happy if you have an IIM A call. Will help you convert your call with the GDPI rounds, etc., etc., right? So there is no limit on the upper limit that you can hit. What you are looking at is the bottom you are going to define for yourself, right? Why? Because otherwise what happens is every B school announcement that happens, and we keep sending those Telegram messages, WhatsApp messages, okay, B school application open. Every time you have to ask yourself, okay, should I apply to this? Should I apply to this? You ask your mentors. It becomes a iterative process. But if you have decided, okay, I'm going to apply to only the top 100, but this college does not fit into my requirement, the answer is a clear no. You do not need to invest your time thinking for every B school that announces their application, right? So this is the point that at the end of this particular stage, you need to have this answer. I am going to apply to the top X number of colleges. Correct.
So basically keep in mind that your top hand is fixed.
Yeah.
The decision has to be taken on the bottom end. Where do you want to place the bottom end? Whether you want to go up to the top 10 colleges, top 20 colleges, top 30 colleges, just make it realistic, right? So you need to have a realistic evaluation of yourself and decide the colleges. I just want to make a clarification over here. Some people are posting questions saying, how do we measure value as per salary? Is that the right way of doing things? Let me clarify over here. I'm not talking about measuring anyone's value by salary, right? It's your credibility that I'm talking about. Why will you get a particular salary? It's for the skill sets that you have, right? The roles that you can perform, right? And finally, the belief that the industry believes that you can be paid that much to do that particular job, right? So when we say that you measure your value by salary, it's not about measuring, deciding who is better just based on a comparison of salary. What we are talking about is, do you have those skill sets for which you will get a particular salary, right? So that's what a B school will prepare you for. So when you talk about deciding which B schools are good for you, right? What is going to give you a higher value is the name of the college, right? Because if the brand exists, then the industry, if the industry trusts that particular brand, your own credibility increases. You are trying to gain that credibility, right? Because for a college with legacy, there will be proven cases of students from the past having done well, having performed in the industry. So you going to the same college will just add credibility to your profile. That's what you're trying to gain by going to the right college. Yeah. Right. Hemang, we can.
Yeah. Just this last line on this value of your life. See, we are using these concepts to make your decision making simpler, right? So suppose we end up making a comment, yes, every human life is very valuable, invaluable, everything equal. Philosophically, yes, I would agree to you, but it still does not help you answer the question we are having a session for, which B school should you apply to. So our discussions are very specific in the context of what we're discussing here, which is B school application, right? So just keep that in perspective. Otherwise, both Vinayak sir and I are believers.
Someone has said I'm not looking for placements. I'm just looking for skill sets and I want to start my own business. My question to that person is, if you want to start your own business, don't you think doing an MBA from a college that is as good as possible will help you do better business? Imagine having an IIM tag with you, right? Just increases your ability to take risks. If I were to do an MBA from a lesser college, right, and I get some placement, would you be willing to take that risk of leaving that job? I believe that someone from an IIM is always at a better position to leave a particular placement opportunity and say, let me do business. Because even if he doesn't do well in the business, he can always go back to the industry and seek a job on the basis of the tag that he has. But someone who's got the first placement with a lot of difficulty would think 100 times more before leaving such an opportunity and starting their own business. Right? Similarly, when you go to seek a loan or go to seek finance for your business, I'm sure your credibility will make all the difference. Which B school that you come from will surely add value to your chances of doing better in your business, right? So whether you want to do a business or whether you want to seek placement doesn't matter. The college name will surely help you do better in life. I'm not saying that people who are from lesser colleges can't do well. Yes, they can do well. It's just that uh, the opportunities come far easier to people with a better tag. So you decide for yourself whether you want to get those opportunities slightly easier or you want to go the hard way. Yeah, Emma.
Yeah. Uh, so the bottom line, just to summarize the discussion, after that we get into the steps required for the B school application process. Is you need to do an MBA from the B school that adds value to you, correct? So this is you. So there are certain B schools that you will be looking at. We have just taken some illustrative examples, and finally there will be a match somewhere, right? So we are looking for this match where what you bring to the table, your expectations, what the B school wants in terms of percentiles and the profile, they are matched, right? So in sum, this is what we were discussing till this point of time. So those 5 questions, in my personal opinion, they are very important for you to answer so that there is clarity to the next part of the process, right? So let's look at the steps required now. From this point onwards, there will be some data that will appear on the screen. You're free to take screenshots, or you can refer to the same data on the multiple platforms like the IMS website, etc., right? So one is Know Thy B schools. I was pretty surprised that a lot of people were asking questions about how would we rate a particular B school. What we have done at IMS is we have already put the top 100 B schools in 4 categories. We call them creme de la creme, which is CDC. Typically the top 15 of the country, then A++, 15 to 30, 35. Then we have A plus, and then we have A, right? So I am just going to run you through the basic data. So for example, this is creme de la creme category as of now. So we have the name of the institute, the test that you need to appear for, and the average salary. Okay. Like we said, average salary is only an indicator, but some of you said, right, we want salaries of 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, etc., etc. So this more or less tells you, will that B school on an average be able to meet your salary expectations and obviously your profile expectations, right? If some of the names are unfamiliar to you, I would recommend that you visit the website, check a little more about these B schools. From the list, maybe Vinayak sir, we can comment on 1 or 2 B schools that we think students may not know about, and then we take it from there.
Are there any particular colleges in this list that students want to know about?
Yeah. Anybody, any college that you want to know about? Okay, there are a lot of colleges here. FMS is there, so we can comment on FMS first.
Yeah, so FMS is one of these legacy colleges, Faculty of Management Studies in Delhi. I think what it's best known for is its fees, right? It's one of the highest return on investment, if I were to so call, colleges that exist in the top 10. The fees is in a very low range, right? It's not a residential program, but again, a very old college, very good placements out there, and the emphasis on CAT score in the selection process is quite high over there. So should definitely be a good alternative for students looking to get into the top 10 B schools in the country. Yeah. ISB Hyderabad is a standout college over here. A lot of people don't know about that, but uh, if you want to know about it, it's one of the only 4 top colleges other than IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta that list in the global top 100 Financial Times ranking for MBA. Right, so ISB Hyderabad has a 1-year program. It has 2 campuses, one in Hyderabad and one in Mohali, and the only point is it accepts GMAT. Right, uh, uh, you can start the program after you have completed 2 years of work experience. For all others, you have deferred admit uh, uh, options wherein you can apply when you're in college, or you can apply when you have less than 2 years of work experience, get an admit, and then join the program once you have completed 2 years of work experience. If you want to know more about the program, you can always get in touch with your mentors at the IMS centers.
Yeah, one more program would be the PGDBA program. So this is offered by 3 schools in collaboration. So it's the program in business analytics. In fact, it is by far the best program in the country for business analytics. Correct. It has their own exam called PGDBA. So if you are looking to get into this particular program, you'll have to also appear for PGDBA. Correct. So I am Calcutta is a B school that is a part of the tripartite agreement. A brilliant program. Correct. One word on FMS. So a lot of people would compare FMS typically with IIM, LIK and the likes. So it is in the definitely in the creme de la creme category. Any B school list that you would visit, right? And Vinayak sir mentioned low B school, low fees. So currently the fees is in the range of 2 lakhs for the 2-year program. Yes, I'm not missing any zeros. So the fact is, in the 2 months of internships, more or less you will earn your MBA fees during those summer months itself. You know, so FMS has that, and the salaries are right up there. You have already seen. It attracts the best of marketing companies. It started off as a film specialist college 10 years ago, but currently, as of now, it is a marketing campus. Any marketing role in any of the IIMs, FMS will match them for sure. Correct. So that's the current profile for FMS. I hope the other names are named to you.
Any reservation for Delhi students, as far as I know. Yes, JBIMS students were asking. That's heavily for Maharashtra students. So a lot of admissions happen through CET. But yes, there is a all India quota. 15% of the seats are reserved for all India. So 15% of 120 seats you can calculate for yourself. That's what is open to the rest of the students from other states, right? Again, JBIMS is also something which is very inexpensive and a legacy college, right? Again, non-residential, but just the legacy is enough for students to make it attractive. Yeah.
So JBIMS is the FMS.
XLRI Jamshedpur, a lot of students feel it's only for HR. Let me tell you, it's not about HR. You want to do marketing, finance, whatever, consulting. XLRI Jamshedpur would rank in the top 5 colleges in the country. Someone asked, why are we presenting colleges in clusters and not giving state ranks? I don't believe in exact ranks, right? For example, if I were to talk about IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta, every year I have students who get calls from all 3 colleges and decide on any one of them depending on what type of profile they want after their MBA. So I would just tell you that if you are getting into all these 10 colleges, at that point in time, we would love to have a discussion with you with respect to what college will best suit your aspiration. Don't look at it as, Acha, IIM Ahmedabad is the first choice, Bangalore is the second, and Calcutta is the third, right? It doesn't work that way. Rankings are available in the market. You can go and have a look at them, but not to decide which college to join ultimately. You would need to look at other aspects before you choose from these colleges. Each of them has the ability to change your life. Yeah.
Great. So let's go to the next set of colleges. Again, they are not listed in a particular ranking order. So keep that in mind. So this is A++ college. So here we have the second generation IIMs, including Kashipur, Ranchi. We have named all of them. We have just put them as in one sentence so that we can display more names to you. Correct. And we also have the third generation IIMs mentioned there, right? Some of the other names here we the IIT, specifically IIT Bombay and Delhi, are doing phenomenally well. So we have put them in the list here. And all these specialist colleges. So for example, like we mentioned, TIS is India's second best college for HR, the first one being XLRI, correct? So anybody looking at HR, in my opinion, should definitely look at TIS, correct? NITI is the god for operations. So anybody looking at operations should apply to NITI. So all these sector leaders we have consciously put into A++ category. Correct. Even though they might beat some of the names in the CDC category for their particular specialization, because it is a sectorial program, we have put them into the A++ category. So the NMIMS, SIBM, SMHRD of the world, all of them would fit into the A++ category. Correct. Salary numbers, program name, etc. have definitely been mentioned, like in the previous case. Correct. In my opinion, some of you may not be very aware of the IIT offering an MBA program. So you might just want to visit their website. They have some phenomenal roles on offer. Typically, when it comes to business analytic roles and e-commerce and product management roles, they are doing very, very well. Correct. This would be the next list, A+ category. So let's say just a little below the top 40 colleges of the country. This is an indicative list. The full list is available on our website also. So there are a few names here. From this list, I think, Vinayak sir, if we can comment on IRMA, because a lot of students miss out on this particular gem, So.
I would just like to put a question for the chat box. How many of you applied to the IIM Ahmedabad Agri-Business Management Program and the IIM Lucknow Agri-Business Management Program when you applied for CAT? How many of you, or rather, let me ask you, how many of you didn't apply? Only those who didn't apply can put in a word over there saying we didn't apply.
I think the easiest way was to put a tick to all programs when you are applying to.
I didn't ticked all boxes while filling. Didn't apply. Ticked all boxes. I've applied as I am a agriculture. Didn't apply. Okay. So there are quite a few of you have actually not applied to the IIM Ahmedabad Agri-Business Management Program. My question is why? There was no cost to it, right? There was no guarantee that as soon as you apply, they are going to call you for an interview. There was no guarantee that if you are going to apply for it, you are going to get selected, right? But I am really amazed. Every year, I find so many students who don't apply to all those programs that are listed out there on the application form, right? And this is when they don't charge you a single penny for each of those colleges. It's at the same cost that you apply to all of them. I know students who say, I have applied only to IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore and Calcutta. I don't want to go to the rest of the colleges. Are you apply to those colleges? Let them say that I have selected you for an interview. Don't go for an interview. You always have that choice, but at least you can tell people that you had got so many calls. Who knows? You might change your mind later on, right? But we tend to miss on these opportunities. Agribusiness management, why not? India is an agriculture-based company. Do you know what type of placements you get after ABM? You get into all those the Pepsis and Lays of the world, right? You get those opportunities, but we don't even apply. So here's my point. You should apply to colleges like IRMA. You should apply to the ABM program. You should have had applied to that, right? Just imagine you get and IIM Ahmedabad ABM cutoffs are much lower than their regular program cutoff. If you were to get a call, if you were to convince them in an interview that you are good for that particular program, and you are to get an admission after that, right? You always had the choice to reject the program and join some other program that you believe you want to pursue. At least all your life, you could tell people around you that you had got a call from an IIM Ahmedabad, and for the first time, you rejected someone. Why keep getting rejected from colleges? Right? So IRMA is one such college which provides you with brilliant opportunities. Again, it's a very inexpensive program, right? IRMA, if people don't know, it's a college run by Amul, right? So the Taste of India, right? So it has wonderful uh, placements over there. You should look at that particular college. Uh, it's a great choice to have, right? So if you're looking at staying in the top 30, 40 colleges in the country, yeah. So do look at that particular college. Then there are other colleges which have specialized courses, like you have uh, uh, Goa Institute of Management is another good college to apply to, if not for anything, but for the reason that it's in Goa, right? So do consider all these colleges. We have Praxis, it's an IMS college, IMS sister concern college, right? Which has been there for more than around 10, 12 years now, right? And it has a specialized, it's the second best program for business analytics in the country. Just go and search for best programs in business analytics, and Praxis will figure as the second best college for business analytics in the country today. Yeah.
Great.
How is IMT Ghaziabad? So we have put it in the third cluster. So that's how good it is, right? So when we are talking about top 100 colleges, I think we have not even reached 60, 70 right now. So it will figure in the top 50, 60 colleges in the country. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So one last word about UBS Chandigarh. So again, it continues the trend of low fees college. So I think the fees is as low as 2 lakhs, and the outcome is quite decent at about 10, 11 lakhs. And the percentile requirements are also low in terms of you might get in at even a 90, 92 percentile in CAT. So people who are expecting that range of percentiles can definitely look at UBS Chandigarh also, right? Okay. So we just added a few more names here. So we just discussed all of these names there. We have reiterated these names, but let us just mention them again. HR, Acceleritis, and then you have MDI, IIM Indore, NMIMS, all these colleges offer an HR program, but Acceleritis definitely is the top two, and MDI would be third in my opinion. Correct. Marketing communication. So remember, marketing is different and marketing communications is a little different. This is more related to branding and strategy. If that part appeals to you, MICA is the college in India that you need to go to. Along with accepting the CAT and ZAT and GMAT score, you also have to apply for their own exam called MyCAT. So keep that in mind. If you don't take up these three exams, CAT, GMAT or ZAT, one of the three, you are not eligible to appear for MyCAT. Correct. As business analytics we have discussed, there is PGDBA. IIM Bangalore last year just started a program in business analytics, and we obviously have Praxis, Great Lakes. IIM Kashipur also is going to start a program in this particular year, right? So you can just have an eye open for these applications.
Hemang, someone is asking whether a person with an IT background can get into HR. Let me say that a person from IT background can get into anything, right? Two things about MBA that you need to know. One, it is blind to your qualification. Anyone can do an MBA. Whether you are an engineer, whether you're a BCom student, a BBA student, a doctor, or anyone can do an MBA. And after an MBA, you can get into any specialization, right? So you can do marketing, finance, HR, operations, anything. It's just that you would want the career that you choose to match with your abilities, to match with your profile, and to match with your interest, right? So that's the only concern. If you have done something in the past that aligns with your intended future, great. But even if you haven't, you can always pick something that you want to get into. So yes, an IT guy. Just answer the question. If an guy can get into marketing, why can't he get into HR? What has he done in terms of marketing? Having some skill set for marketing that he can't get into HR. So not necessary to get into such buckets, right? Anyone can do anything. If you can strengthen your profile, if you can showcase your interest in HR, if you can have something on your resume to show that you are truly interested in HR, if you can build some knowledge around it, right? It will further your chances. It will enhance your chances, right? But anyways, I think everyone has a choice.
Yeah, yeah. Some people are asking about can non-engineers apply to the IITs? Some of the IITs do allow non-engineers to apply. IIT Delhi, Chennai come to my mind. They will open up their applications somewhere after CAT. So if there are any more changes to the list, we'll keep you informed. NITI accepts only engineers because it's an operations program, right? So those, apart from few IITs and NITI, non-engineers can apply everywhere else. No issues at all, like Vinayak just mentioned.
Yeah. So someone is saying Great Lakes don't accept colleges with more than with students with more than 2 years. They have two different programs. They have two different programs. One for people with less than 2 years of work ex and one for people with no work ex. So
yeah.
So I think
one program is a 1 year program. For that you need 2 years of experience. The other program is a 2 year program. Even freshers are accepted for that particular program.
A lot of students are asking about MICA. Let me tell you that MICA is the best college for advertising and communication. If you want to get into branding, advertising, communication, it's one of the best colleges in Ahmedabad, right? So do consider that they have a test of their own called MyCat, but you need to take CAT, GMAT, or ZAT, right? One of these tests to qualify to take the MyCat, right? So that's how it works. All these specific questions about colleges and the process for it can be handled by the mentors that you're seeing. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Second part. So first step was to know the B schools. I hope you have learned a little more about B schools. The second step is to now estimate your CAT percentile. We have mentioned that look at your range of CAT percentile, etc. So we now tell you a thumb rule that you can use. We call it the halfway to 100 rule. Simply put, if you have to work with an example, take your current SIMCAT percentile, correct? To use an example, I'm going to take 80 percentile as a number, correct? So how far away are you from 100? 20 points, right? 100 minus 80, correct? Take the half of it, which would become 10. So what is your estimated CAT percentile? 80, that is your SIMCAT score, plus 10, that we just arrived at. So it becomes 90. So if you were to take CAT tomorrow, your expected CAT percentile would be 90. So keep in mind that your SIMCAT percentiles are generally a little lower than your actual CAT percentile because of factors like the competition and the number of people who take up CAT. Right, SIMCAT is taken by a smaller crowd, a more competitive and a more serious crowd. Right, so you are competing in a more difficult pool as of now. So when you jump to the bigger pool, things are a little simpler. So if you're scoring 80 now, you most likely would end up scoring 90 on the day of CAT. Obviously, certain personal factors, your big day performance, if you crack under pressure, those things are kept aside. But we have tested the data across years, and it works reasonably well, specifically for percentiles above 60. Right. So this should tell you if you were to take up CAT tomorrow, what would be your CAT percentile. For better results, you can take up an average of the last 2-3 SIMCATs you have taken and play with the same numbers. If you want to take,
just to answer, I think there are specific questions being asked. So if you're at a 50 percentile, you can expect to be halfway to 100. Halfway from 50 to 100 is 75. So that's where you can expect to be. Someone is asking what if I'm at 97? Halfway to 100 is 98.5. That is your expected percentile according to me. In any case, when you talk about an expected percentile, please work with a range, right? It's not a single number. So if the cutoff for MDI, for example, if it's around 95 percentile, and I am at a 90 percentile in SimCats right now, my expected percentile would be around 95. So yes, I should be applying to MDI. But even if I am at a 85 percentile in SimCats and halfway would be somewhere around 92.5, right? I could take that risk of applying to MDI because it falls within a range. So plus or minus 2 or 3 percentile is always fine, right? But what this rule tells you is if you were to take the CAT on the next day, what probable percentile would you get if you were to perform at the same level as you are doing in the SimCats, right? And this has worked more or less for a whole lot of students in previous years. So use this rule to estimate. So for all of you have been taking SimCats, you know what scores you have been getting. Your CAT score has to be better than that. Simple reason: SimCats are taken by people who prepare. CAT is taken by a far more number of people. There are a whole lot of people who don't even prepare for the test, and that is the reason why your percentile should get pushed up if you have been preparing for CAT with IIMS, right? So that's how it is.
Okay, so let's move ahead. So that was the second step. So I hope you have that range in mind before you go to the next step, and also a commitment that I will improve my SimCat performance in the upcoming days so that the range improves for your CAT percentile range. Correct. Coming to the third step, so now we are giving you percentile cutoff estimates. Okay. As of now, we have put them for the open category. Wherever there are category cutoffs, we will comment on that. So we have included the IIMs and we have also included some of the other colleges. So for example, if you're in that 94 percentile range, colleges like FMS, MDI definitely open up for you. So does NITI, so does IIT Mumbai, right? We are using a range because a lot of other factors come into play and certain colleges, right? So just to keep things simpler, I am giving you slab-wise colleges, right? So this is only for your information. Some of you might want to click take a screenshot or a photo of the data on the table. Okay. This is the next category. This is CAT 90 percentile. So anybody currently scoring in the range of 80 percentile in SimCats, this is one more table that you should think about. So here you will see all the names like IMT Ghaziabad, IMI Delhi. That will open up for you. So does IIT Chennai also open up, correct? IIM Indore is here. Some of you might wonder how can you get into IIM Indore at 90 percentile. The fact is they have a decent amount of weightage on the other factors. So we have seen students with 90 percentile currently sitting and studying at IIM Indore, correct? So that's why the name is here. Similarly, ExaMB Bhubaneswar, you can get it at 90 percentiles, correct? 85 percentile, whole range of colleges again. So the third generation IIMs typically have a cutoff between 85 to 90 percentile range. So that's why they open up. SPJMR has two ways of judging a candidate. One is profile based. So it is possible that at an 85 percentile you get a call from SPJM, but even at a 95 percentile you do not get a call at SPJMR, right? So one is they look at only the profile. The second is they look at both the profile and scores, correct? So that typically starts at about 95, 97 percentile. So if you have a great profile, you should definitely apply to SPJMR. Second is if you're expecting a great CAT score, you should apply to SPJMR, correct?
Hemang, they just want to have a look at each of the previous slides. And
sure.
The second question is about reservation category students.
Sure.
People want to know data.
Yeah. So this is the 94 percentile slide, the first slide that we had put up. I repeat, these are broad estimates, so decimal se mat jana. Yeah. And this is the 90 percentile chart, 90 percentile in CAT or the equivalent exam. and this is the 85 percentile chart. Correct. And the list for this category is a little longer. I have just given you a sample, indicative list, which is colleges at 80 percentile. Correct. So there will be a slight overlap with the previous list here. So you can look at Libba Chennai, you can look at BIMTech Noida, Wellinger also opens up in this particular range. Correct. Now, as far as the categories are concerned, what I will do is I will put up approximate thumb rule that you can use. So how much percentile or percentage discount do you get if you belong to a particular category, right? So while we chat, I shall put that up for sure. Okay. Okay. So once we have now looked at the colleges, the percentiles, etc., the next step would be to decide which other exams do you take, right? So assumption is all of you are definitely taking up CAT. In addition to CAT, which other exams should you take up? Obviously, it will be dependent upon the basis, the B school you want to apply. So for example, if you want to get into NMIMS, you have no choice but to apply to NMAT. If you want to get into Symbiosis Pune, you have to take up SNAP, right? So the list of colleges comes first, then comes the list of ADMAT. So for example, you are very sure you want to get only and only into finance, then definitely MICA is ruled out, this is ruled out. So you did not take up MICAT, you did not take up TISNET for that in that particular case, right? Second is, and this is a very important point, great performance or a poor performance in one exam should not determine which other exams you take. Simply because there are a lot of other factors at play. To give an example, if I look at IFT, they have a GK section. So maybe you're very good at GK, so maybe you didn't perform too well at CAT, but you do well at IFT. Correct. The other example could be NMAT. NMAT is totally a three-weighted exam, right? So yes, people who do well at CAT generally do well at NMAT also. There is no doubt about it. But I have seen a lot of people who struggle with CAT. Maybe they are at the 60-70 percentile mark, but they do very well at NMAT because speed is their forte, and they have focused on NMAT as an exam. So they do well at NMAT. One more example can be MICAT. MICAT is a very different exam. They have a creative writing round. They have a divergent thinking round. Correct. So your performance in MICAT, I would say, is not at all correlated with your performance on the day of the CAT. Correct. So just because you are not doing well on CAT does not mean you will do poorly on the other exams. Okay, it is very possible that there is an exam that fits your particular skill set and you do well at it. One more example could be TISNET. TISNET has very easy quant, very easy verbal. Correct. I would say it is very possible to get a full score on their quant, logic, and verbal section. Correct. In fact, most people do end up getting a full score. But the challenging aspect in TISNET is their GK. Okay, they have a really obscure GK coming up in their exam. So if I want to do well at TISNET, the game I need to play is to focus on that type of GK. Correct. So maybe you scored only a 60 percentile in CAT, but you end up being amongst the topper for TISNET because you could get that GK section right when it comes to TISNET, right? So I hope I have made my point clear. Let CAT not be the only factor to judge your, eligibility, so as to say, for the other ADMATs.
And every year we have students who do well in some of these tests. They might not perform in CAT, but they do surprisingly very well in other exams. I know students who have not done well in CAT but got a call from XLRI thanks to their performance in that. So just don't give up because of one particular test. You may do well in CAT, you might not do well in CAT, but I think you need to look at all the tests differently, right? Every test has its own format. Every test is very different, and there might be some tests which will match up to your skills, your ability, and you'll perform better. Yeah. So do consider that before taking your decision to not take a particular test. Right?
Okay. And last point, CAT is only the start of the exam season. It is not the end. So do not get too bored or too complacent. CAT के बाद थक गए and you go into a chill mode, and hence you do not do well at the other exam. That should not happen. In fact, this year, if I look at it, the core of the exam season has shifted to Jan. You have NMAT, you have SNAP, you have IFT, maybe even CMAT might happen in Jan or Feb. Correct. So a lot of these other exams are going to happen in December and Jan. Which is very unlike last year, where exams used to typically get over in November and December. So this also means you have extra time to prepare. So some of you who were in a way cribbing that, oh, I am not well prepared for CAT because of lack of time, you have time till Jan to make up for other exams. So one reason why Finax has said that people do well on Excel on ZAT and not on CAT is because they have an 40-day window between the two exams. So they put their heart and soul into it and do prepare for ZAT, and hence they come up with flying colors. So take the message. It's a long exam season, at least till Jan end, I would say. And for people who are in Maharashtra, when you're looking at CET, it goes to the first week of March also, right? So it's like a long tournament, like IPL. You have to perform at all stages, and finally one exam will click for you, and you should get into your dream school then.
People are asking about the timelines for each of the tests. I think we have a slide.
Yeah, we have a slide.
Questions like, will CET be on time? Let me tell you, only God can answer that, right? CET, the admission process of the previous year is yet not completed, right? So
not started, yeah.
So hopefully they complete before you take your test. So right now, too early to say whether they'll postpone or not, but no reason for us to believe that it will definitely be postponed. Right? Things can fall in place. CAT is happening exactly in the same time when it happens every year, right? Yes, NMAT got postponed a bit, but only because it used to start in October, right? So I think going forward, most of the tests should happen in the same time that they happened in the previous year. So even someone is asking about TISNET, the answer is the same. It should happen in January.
Yeah.
Expected NMAT cutoff. I think a lot of people are asking about NMAT.
Yeah. So let me comment on NMAT scores. I think this is the number one query I get these days. So till last year, NMAT cutoff used to be in the range of 208 to 210, right? So Vinayak sir and I and everybody at IMS used to have a clear guideline that if a student is scoring 225 plus, more or less he should get in. 210, he's in that may convert zone. But this year, because NMAT has changed the pattern, they have gone to an adaptive format. The number of questions per section has changed, so on and so forth. Whatever initial scores we have received, okay, shows that people are scoring far higher than last year. Disclaimer, this is limited data because a lot of students have not taken NMAT yet. But whatever score sets we have received, I would say the scores are on the higher side. In my mind, it has gone up by at least 10 to 15 marks on the conservative side, and maybe even as high as 15 to 20 marks. So as of now, with limited data, I would say that a 225 to 230 is equivalent to 210 last year. People who have taken NMAT last year or are being following scores, right? So that is our current analysis. And when we have more data, we'll definitely share with all of you. So don't worry about that. Okay, so I hope that satisfies some part of the queries that you have. Okay, so 225 to 230 is the new 210. Would be my current take on the same. Correct. On your screen, we have put up the deadlines for the tests that are coming up. So these are the exams that have announced their dates. Correct. CMAT has not yet announced the date, so it's not there. CT has not announced the date, so it's not there. Right. So we have put up the actual exam date, and we have also put the last day to register. Correct. At this point of time, I would like you to bring to your notice that there are two things I would want you to refer to. If you're an IMS student, right on your homepage of MyIMS, we put up a link called the Ultimate Guide to B-School Applications. We will never miss a date there. So at any point of time you refer to, you visit IMS, MyIMS, you should have a look at that particular table. So the fact is, the only thing I need to do for this slide is to take that particular information and put it here, right? Similarly, we also share guidelines, both text guidelines and video guidelines for each application that you would want to take up. So you can actually MyCat, how to fill the form. There is a video and there is a text guideline available to you. So it is on MyIMS. That is one. Second, there is a group, a Telegram group. I'm going to share the links also on chat now, where we keep updating all the B-School deadlines. So if you are not in that group, which is called the CAT group, you have to the CAT update group. I think you should be there. It is one place where you get instant information. So this is how you should track your information, and obviously it's there on our website also, right? So MyIMS, Telegram group, and website. Either take all three or take at least one of the three, so that you are never short on information. It would be a pity and a hard one for us if you miss a deadline just because you did not track one of these three sources, right? Okay. So coming to the next step, this is where you actually make your application decision, I would say. What we advise students is, whenever you have to apply and you know the deadlines, correct? You need to put these deadlines into three categories. Deadlines before CAT. So this year there are three B schools I have taken as examples, which is SPJMR, MDI, and IMT Ghaziabad. All three have the deadline on 27th of November, right? So before you enter your CAT venue, you need to apply to these colleges. So your decision, should I apply to these three, will have to be based on the halfway to CAT rule that we spoke about, correct? There are certain colleges, to give an example, IMI, TAPMI, XIMB, they have their dates after CAT, but before the official CAT results are out. So these are in the first week of December. Now, once you write CAT, the next day of CAT, we will come up with detailed analysis of the expected percentile at a particular score. So you can actually decide, okay, I am going to not apply to IMI now. It is on my list, for example, but I will wait till 30th of November to check if I should apply, correct? The third is after CAT results, all the IITs, NITI fall into this category every year. So here you will have your CAT percentile officially in front of you. You will know the cutoff of last year's, and if you're in the range, you can apply. Otherwise, you can skip those applications, right? So this makes sure that you are making a decision only for the college that you need to make at the right point of time. So both of us believe that you should apply 7 to 10 days before the deadline, because at that point of time you have the maximum information available. So you would know your latest MCAT score so that you can calculate your halfway to CAT. You would know your performance on the other exams, other ADMAT tests that are happening. So this is the method I would suggest for you that you should use. We would like you to avoid the nervous application on the last day of the exam of the B school, 30 minutes before the deadline, etc., because that time you tend to make a lot of mistakes. The server tends to hang, so on and so forth, right? So play it safe. 1 week before the exam or the B school notification, decide, do you want to apply, yes or no, correct? So this is how every application can be tracked, correct, into three categories: before the exam, before the CAT results, and after the CAT results, correct? Yeah, Vinayak sir, you want to comment here?
No, you can go ahead.
Yeah, correct. Last part is assuming you do the work we have discussed now, you should have your first list ready now. By now I mean maybe the next couple of days, latest by 20th of November, correct? So you have your list. We have given you the percentile, we have given you the exams, we have given you the average salary. So you can now make up a list, correct? And then you can revisit your list. Maybe you are performing better than expected, so you can add a few colleges to your list. Maybe your performance is not up to your expectations, so maybe you want to put a few applications on hold, correct? And obviously share your list, discuss your list with your mentors and your advisors, correct? So maybe there is a B school that you have missed, so for example, some of you missed MyCat or MICA, and if you have a one-to-one discussion with your mentors, they will know, yes, why are you not applying to MICA, and you can add that to your list, correct? So the first list should come from you. deletions will keep happening, I would say, correct? And then you should take it from that point of time. And I would say have a tracker. I'm going to show you a sample tracker that we advise students to maintain, so that entire process is kept simple and there's a track of everything that you would want to know, okay, on one single Excel sheet.
A few students have been asking about specializations and colleges. Let me tell you that if you're getting into the top 30 B schools, see, all of them offer all specializations, right? Obviously, marketing and finance opportunities are available everywhere. Consulting opportunities would only be, I would say, would only be available at the top 10, 15, 20 colleges. So not beyond that, you would not get too many consulting opportunities, right? For operations, again, you can do it from anywhere, but there are colleges like NITI, IIT Bombay, which are known for their operation specialization. But you don't need to look at finance, which is better at this stage. If you are to get into an IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta, and you want to do finance, at that point in time, you can compare the placement opportunities at each of those three and decide which is better for finance. But don't think of it from perspective, I will only apply to IIM Ahmedabad and Calcutta because they are known for finance. Right now, what matters is the tag, the college that you're going to get into. So a better tag can give you better opportunities in any specialization, right? So especially when the difference between the tags is very large, right? So don't get into that unless and until you want to do niche programs, which we have already shown you a list of some of the programs. Yeah, Hema.
Yeah. Last point, this is post-CAT, so do not worry about this in November at all. Suppose you end up doing very well on your CAT or even an average performance, we have to also improve our chances of the PI conversion. So one small task to be added to your list would be, is there anything I can do to add my profile? Just to inform you that, and we have discussed this previously also, that our sister concern ProSchool offers specific profile building courses for IMS students. As IMS students, you obviously get 20% waiver. And these are the 4 programs that we offer. So there's digital marketing, there is financial modeling. So for example, if you're going to say, if you're going to MICA and you want to say, okay, I have done a course in digital marketing, it adds to your chances of converting your call. Some of you may have already done a lot of things on your profile, so you will not get into this. But it is just a gentle reminder that post-CAT, do not go into the chill mode, like I said previously. Think of the next step, and maybe some of you will need a profile building course. So these 4 courses are available. Right now, do not think of these too much. This is for the month of December, right? So marketing guys can look at digital marketing. Finance guys can obviously look at financial modeling. People are looking at consulting can look at either business analytics or financial modeling, one of the two. Correct? That would be my suggestion, broadly speaking.
Someone is asking about how to apply thumb rules to find cutoffs for category students, etc. Thumb rule is not about cutoffs at all. Thumb rule is only about estimating your own percentile in a particular exam, right? So cutoffs would be the same irrespective. So you should do your research to find the cutoffs for a particular college, right? So that data is available with IMS. You can look up our website. You can talk to our mentors, right? For specific cutoffs for SC, ST, OBC, EWS, etc., etc. But as far as the thumb rule is concerned, it's only to estimate what percentile you would get. Now, whether you are a category student or not, the rule remains the same: halfway to 100 percentile, right? So if you are at a 50 percentile today, your expected percentile can be around 75, because the percentile is the same for all categories. Right, so let's be very clear about it. Yeah, is thumb rule applicable for ADMAT exams? It differs from exam to exam, but what we have spoken would work for exams like CAT and XAT, where the number of people taking the test is very large. Yeah.
Okay. So this is just a sample of an application tracker you can make for yourself. So I have, let's assume I am deciding to apply only to the top 30 B schools of the country. So the B school name, the category, you can add more columns, fees, salary, etc. I have already mentioned the percentiles required. Correct. Test accepted. So you know which exams you need to take. then you can track for yourself. Have you registered for that particular test? Have you registered for that particular institute? Correct. And then this is a tracker for yourself. You can add more columns. For example, some students add a tracker for their login password for each exam and B school, so that anytime they have to do anything to do with their application, there's only one Excel sheet they refer to. Correct. I think this makes the entire process very structured, organized. So I would suggest you also follow the same rule, same format, and work around it. Okay. Yeah. 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 Vinayak sir, would you want to take them through the two golden rules?
Yeah. So basically, having talked about this and see, finally, as Hemang said, let's make a list of colleges. Let's go after them, right? What happens is we think too much about what if not then what, right? At the end of the year, let's say I get into a particular college, should I join it or not? I get asked so many times. I have got into a particular college, should I join it or should I wait for one more year, right? Let me just state two golden rules that you need to remember finally before you join any college, right? So the first rule states that the where is more important than the when. Let's try and understand this table, right? Now there are 5 possibilities that I have laid down in this particular table. There is someone who does an MBA immediately after graduation, does a lot of work, gets some work experience, and reaches senior management at the age of 30 years. There is someone who might get some work experience after graduation, does an MBA, gets some work experience, and reaches senior management at the age of 30, right? Similarly, option 3, option 4, option 5, all of them, you see that he's reaching a senior management position at the age of 30, right? Please note that these numbers are just representative, right? So in option 3, you get a lot of work experience, then do an MBA. You get 5 to 6 years of work experience, then do an MBA, then work experience, and then get into senior management. And fourth, there is some certification program that you do after your graduation, then get into some work experience, MBA, work experience, and senior management. And the last one is there are 2 MBAs. I think that's the one where all of you should have a question as to why this guy has done 2 MBAs before reaching the senior management. Can someone guess why the last person might have done 2 MBAs? In the chat box. I think someone has mentioned it correctly. The first one was not good enough. The first one did not deliver on the expected outcomes. So basically it happens when you compromise, when you don't think too much about it. When you just look at MBA as that 3-letter word that's going to change your world, and you do an MBA from any college that you get admission to. And especially when you deserve something better. Right? I'm not saying everyone should be looking at an IIM Ahmedabad or everyone should be looking for getting into the top 10 colleges. But at least try and get into the colleges that you deserve. Don't compromise on that. So that's where the rule number 1 comes. The where is more important than the when. Where you do an MBA from is more important than when you do it. In all these possibilities, where the MBA has happened at different stages of his life, anywhere between the age of 21 and 30 years. But to reach that senior management position, to get that success, I think what matters is where that MBA has been done from, rather than when it has been done. So just think about it. I meet you 10, 15 years down the line and I ask you, where have you done your MBA from? And you say, I'm Ahmedabad. Do you think the next question is going to be, oh, when did you do it? Did you do it in 2023? Did you do it in 2024? Does it really matter? I think the name of college is just enough to improve your perception or improve the perception about you. So that's rule number 1. Please understand that the where is more important than the when. Don't be in a hurry to do an MBA. There are 2 things that decide which college you will ultimately land up in: your profile and your performance in the selection process. Have you reached the maximum in terms of what you can do in terms of both? If you believe you can't change your profile, if you can't improve your test performance further, maybe you can join the college you're getting. But otherwise, if it makes sense to wait one more year, you believe you can improve your test performance, you believe you can improve your profile, just the confidence that you got into some college this year is enough to push you to wait for one more year. Right? So this is golden rule number 1. Rule number 2 is that join a B school that is as good for you as possible, as early as possible. Now, this rule might look slightly contradictory to the first rule, but what it simply means is that be practical. I know of so many students who keep waiting year after year saying, "Jana hai to I am Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, varna karna nahi hai." Does not make sense. You need to figure out which is that college that you deserve based on your profile and your ability to perform in the selection process. If I get an admission to an NMIMS this year, right, and I believe that even after waiting for one more year, I'll land up in a college more or less equivalent to NMIMS, there is no point waiting for one more year. Do an MBA from NMIMS and get it done with and get into the corporate world. Which is why I say as good a college as possible for you as early as possible. So follow these 2 rules, and I'm sure you'll join the right B school for yourself. Right? So Hemang. So I think these are some of the deadlines.
Yeah. So what we have done here is the deadlines that are coming up in the month of November, right? We have just put it for your reference so that you don't miss out on the same. Correct. So 27 November is a date for a lot of these schools. So keep that deadline in mind. For SDA Bocconi, which was in our A+ category, they have multiple rounds of application. The first round ends 20th November, and for Great Lakes, the first round ends on 22nd of November. Okay. Applying in the first round typically will increase your chances of conversion by a little bit, and if they're offering some scholarships, it will slightly increase your chances of getting the scholarships. If you think you need to wait for the other rounds, you are free to do so. Typically, SPJMR, MDI, Gurgaon have never extended their deadlines. So don't be under assumption that, okay, let me take up the CAT and then I will apply to these 2 B schools. Okay. So I repeat, these are the schools with a deadline in November. There are obviously a lot of other applications that have already opened up. So we are not talking of those as of now. Correct. Just to do a quick recap, correct. These are the 5 questions that I would want you to ask, and we would want you to answer for yourself so that you make your first list. We have discussed multiple factors that you need to look at while you shortlist your B schools, placement numbers, the brand, the percentile range, so on and so forth, etc. And these are the 7 steps we discussed that you need to follow. Correct. We started with giving information about all the B schools in the 4 categories that we put them into. Then we looked at the estimated cutoffs. We told you how to make the application decision after knowing the cutoffs. And then we told you to maintain a tracker to revisit the list as and when possible. And post CAT, some of you might want to do a profile boost through a certification course with us. So that can be looked at in December. Correct. So these are the 2 resources that you should look at. If you have not joined the Telegram group, I put up the link there. This is open for both CAT, for IMS and non-IMS students. All the B school related information comes up on this particular group. Correct. And the same ultimate guide is put up on MyIMS. Time and again, we circulate SMSs and the PDFs through WhatsApp for the ultimate guide. Right. So for example, if you look at the ultimate guide now, it will tell you all the B schools that have opened up applications right till up to the month of January. And we keep updating that particular list every 3 days. Correct. So you will never miss an application deadline for the same. Right. IMS categorization and placement, just Google for the IMS website and you should reach the list of B schools. You know, if you just type top 30 B schools IMS, you will hit the right page and you will be there. Okay. So I hope now you should join these resources if you have not joined, so that you do not miss out on important alerts from our side. Correct. the one thing I need to share with you, which shall do in a couple of minutes, is the cutoff for the category. Uh, that's the only thing pending from our side. Vinayak sir, anything else that you would want to add?
No, I think we can take questions.
Correct. So when you post your questions, like we mentioned previously, apply the guidelines to your specific case. So, as far as possible, avoid my score is XYZ and my 10 score is XYZ. Which school should I apply? They have already given you the guidelines.
I would just like to conclude from my side by saying that, see, I think a B school choice is very important from your career perspective. So do give it a lot of thought before joining a B school. Do give a thought to what you want to achieve out of this. So have a career perspective. What are those roles that you want? Which industry do you want to work for? Where would you get those opportunities? And then do a realistic assessment of which colleges can deliver on those expected outcomes, keeping in mind your profile, keeping in mind your ability to perform in entrance exams, and then simply go after them, right? So I think you need to keep it very simple. Have your list ready of colleges, have their deadlines, tests you need to take, what score you need to get. People are asking about sectional scores, important or not. It all depends on which colleges finally end up in your list or tracker that Himang referred to. So for every college, you need to know what is the selection process. You need to know whether whether the sectional cutoffs are important or not. Make that tracker for yourself. Keep looking at it on a daily basis, weekly basis. Show it to your mentor. Get it vetted by them. As Himang sir said, they might add a few colleges. They might subtract a few from them if we feel it's not realistic, right? But do this exercise diligently, and all of you should be in a very good situation post the admission season, right?
So one thing about the category percentiles, let me give you a thumb rule. So pay attention to the numbers. So if you belong to the EWS category or the NCOBC category, then you have a advantage of about 10 percentile points. So for example, if I am A, we said 95 percentile. For NCOBC and EWS, it will become close to 85. Okay, that's a rule. If you belong to SC/ST category, I would say add another 10 points as an advantage. So if it was 95 for general category, it should become 75 for SC/ST. Okay, these are thumb rules. Remember the IIMs and the IIT. So the government run colleges have reservation categories. Private colleges like MDI, SPJMR, NMIMS, etc. don't have reservation categories. So for those colleges, the general category cutoff will also apply to you. Correct. If you are a PWD candidate, the cutoffs can go really, really low because the number of seats have been increased for the PWD category as of now for all the colleges. So if you are a PWD candidate, I would say apply to all the possible top 30 colleges, and you should definitely make it to one of those. Correct. So to recap, NC, OBC, and EWS 10 percentile points, and NCOBC and sorry SC/ST another 10% percentile points. Okay, would be the rough benchmark that you can follow. Correct. I hope that will give you a lot of confidence while making your decision making. So thank you everyone for staying for so long. I hope the session is useful to you. We repeat, do stay in touch with your mentors. We'll keep guiding you, and yes, closer to the dates applicable, we'll have more sessions like these, including GDPI, B school final selection, etc. We'll keep doing. Okay, so let's not worry about it.
So guys, all the best for the CAT and for all the entrance exams coming in the season, and hopefully this session was useful to all of you. We look forward to your feedback and look forward to meeting you for some other session. Until then, keep preparing, stay focused, and all the best.
Yeah. All the best, everyone. Make us proud.